Okay, so who am I? What am I doing here? Well, my name is Mark Newstetter, and I am a guitar player, songwriter, singer, teacher, guitar tech, and lover of music, lover of the guitar. And I've been doing this my whole life. I started playing guitar when I was 9 years old. I started performing in public when I was about 15. I got my first gig in Greenwich Village singing at an old dive bar called Mills Tavern. Played there for, I don't know, about 6 months. I played at the Dugout down the street from Mills Tavern. That was a step up for about a year or two. I've gigged in San Francisco, most recently, Los Angeles. I'm kind of a hermit. I don't tour very much. Occasionally I'll get a gig that requires I travel. So I've been at it for a while, and I've been teaching for 20, 30 years. I have given between 20 and 30,000 1-hour one-on-one guitar lessons with 500 or 600 students. And so I'm doing these YouTube videos because I feel like I have something to share with other people who want to make music on the guitar and are finding their way on this instrument, like I was at some point in my life where I was looking for ways to do it. How do I do this? How do I learn how to do this? I didn't have a guitar teacher when I started. I had many guitar teachers because when I started playing, it was kind of, at 9 years old, I had 2 guitar lessons in the local community center in New York City, Lower East Side, where I'm from. And I learned how to tune the guitar, and I learned a couple of chords. And after that, I thought, I can figure this out. And I did, figured a lot of it out. Well enough that when I combined what I was figuring out on my own with the music classes that I had in grade school, PS 110, we had some music classes there. Junior high school 56, we had some music classes there. So I learned a little bit about music. My mom played the piano, and we actually ended up having a piano finally at home, and there were pianos around, so I could learn from other people. And when I started gigging, I realized that I was among people who knew a lot more than I did and who I could learn from. So I learned from everyone I met in the years that I played in Greenwich Village, and a number of clubs and coffee houses and bars and things there. I busked on the street, played songs of my own and cover tunes. There's something about singing a song that you wrote for the first time in front of people and getting applause and getting well received, and in fact getting a gig because someone liked something you wrote. Now this happened to me, and it happened to me at a time when I was, I thought I was ready and I wasn't, but I thought I was. I didn't know what to do with the little bit of success that I had. I didn't know how to capitalize on it, who to trust, who to talk to. And, people will run games on you, and they will haze you in any environment where there is something at stake and you're a newcomer. I remove myself from situations where that becomes a factor. I don't need that in my life. So, people, if you don't play the game, you don't get dealt in. I'm not the person to look at for advice on how to make it big in the music business, but it also is true that making it in the music business, being successful in a big way, is not only about musical ability or musical talent. That word talent is very charged. I don't know if two people agree on what that word means. So the point being that when you make music and you love music and you make it because you love it, well, technically, if you don't get paid to do something, you are called an amateur. Amateur is a word that I don't think everybody knows what it means. The word amateur means someone who does something for love, and usually that means instead of money. But you can be an amateur and still get paid if you love what you do, I guess. But you can also be someone who does something for money, and then you become a professional. But neither of those things, professional or amateur, is a determining factor in whether someone's really good at doing something, because a lot of people get paid for doing something that isn't all that good, and a lot of people do great work and don't get paid for it. So the quality of the work you do, the quality of the music you make, is not going to be determined by how much money you make doing it. What will factor into the quality of the music you make, if you can think in those terms, is what you intend to do and how much you fulfill what it is you intended to do when you started making the music. Music is a form of expression, and on some level, and if you are trying to say something, well, then you succeed if other people get the message. Music is a fulfillment of aspiration. It's a fulfillment of ideas and expression. And how close you come to achieving that's what really makes it good or not good. And it doesn't really matter what kind of music it is, what box you put it in, or what genre it is, what label it gets. What matters is it saying what it set out to say? And that doesn't eliminate also the likelihood or the possibility that it will be received in a different way than intended, and that's also fine, because as long as it gets through somehow in some way, and if it goes beyond what it set out to do, great. But if you fall short and you try to do something and no one gets it, and, well, maybe it's okay, but, it all depends on what it is you're trying to do. If you're happy making music for yourself, by yourself, or for a couple of friends, absolutely, that's fine. Because, music is one of those things that's like food. You don't need approval to enjoy food. You don't need approval from other people to enjoy a meal. And you don't need approval from other people to make the music you want to make. Music is sustenance. Music is something we need as human beings. Music is something that goes back to the beginning of humanity. There was music right at the beginning when people started making fires for the first time, and they started building things for the first time. Some of the first things that people did when they knew how to make things was make musical instruments. Flutes, drums, harps. The guitar is a harp. It is descended from the harp, which is descended from the hunting bow. And the connection between people's everyday lives and everyday activities and the need to make music is an unbreakable connection. like I said before, I play professionally and I play in front of people, and I enjoy doing that. And I like helping people have a good time through my performances as a musician, helping people and just giving people a show and hoping they enjoy it. And that's fulfilling to me, entertaining. I don't know how good a job I'm doing right now. This is kind of boring, isn't it? But seriously, folks, I discovered after relocating to Los Angeles and trying to make some inroads into the music business there that my mindset, my temperament did not match that of the music business world. And it didn't really matter, apparently, what I was doing musically. I needed also to have those kind of chops to communicate with people in the business and, schmooze and get things happening that way. That never quite worked for me. So I made a choice to kind of go low profile and not really promote what I was doing and just keep playing music the best I could with whoever I could work with and take whatever gigs came along. But at the same time, I write songs. So I'm in love with music. I'm in love with the guitar, and I love to write songs, and I love to sing them and play them. So that's what matters to me. I teach guitar, and I've been teaching guitar for over 20 years now, and I've had, 500, 600, 700 students. I have given literally 25,000, 30,000 hours of one-on-one guitar lessons with those 500, 600 people over the last 20, 30 years or so. Teaching guitar, fixing guitars here in San Francisco at my shop, Balboa Guitars. And gigging when I can find a gig that I like at a place that I like with people that I want to work with. And sharing what I know and hoping that I can kind of help other people experience music and the guitar. The method that I use in my lessons and actually in playing as well was developed basically so that I could figure out how to make music on the guitar the way I started out making music on the piano when I was a kid. I started out actually playing guitar and piano around the same time in my life, about the age of 9. I think I might have been playing piano before that because there were pianos in various different homes of our relatives, and then we finally got one at home. But I never really took piano lessons. I basically just sat down and played. And the reason I could do that on the piano, and I think anyone who sat down at a piano who's musically inclined will discover that it's not that difficult to find your way around a piano keyboard. Piano keyboard has all the notes lined up. They don't move around. They stay right where they are. There's one of each. And if you work something out on the piano, well, you can build on that very easily because you see all the tonal relationships right there. And as it turns out, I really liked playing the guitar more than I liked playing the piano. But at first, I had to work things out, and I really had, difficulty improvising on the guitar. And I wasn't looking for a guitar teacher at the time, but I had a lot of mentors when I was playing in the Village at the age of 17, and at the time lying about my age so that I could play in clubs that, you had to be not a minor to play or to be in those clubs. And I passed because I was tall, and, I guess no one ever asked for my ID because, this was New York City in the 70s. There were no picture IDs. And half the people in New York don't even have a driver's, or didn't at the time have a driver's license. So no big deal. And I had a lot of mentors, too numerous to name. One in particular, though, who's gone now, a man named Jim Eaves, who was a phenomenal guitarist, and especially to me at the time, I had just never heard anybody like that. He sang and played like no one or nothing I'd ever heard. I kind of attached myself to him for a period of time, and he tolerated me, and he shared musical wisdom with me. We lost touch with each other when I left New York, but I did manage to reconnect with him, I don't know, a couple of years before he died, and we had a few very interesting phone conversations. So thanks, Jim, because I still love the guitar after all these years, and I didn't know whether I'd ever be able to make even a living as a musician, but teaching and repairing these instruments helped me. And for the repair side of things, I would have to thank also a number of people. My dad, who was an amazing engineer in the aerospace industry, taught me how everything worked and how to understand the principles of mechanics and engineering. And as well, several amazing art teachers who taught me how to use tools, which is something you learn when you study art. I was an art student early in my life until I dropped out of the School of Visual Arts at the age of 16 to play music full time. This wasn't received very well by my parents, but they didn't really think being a nightclub musician playing guitar and seedy dives was the life they wanted for me. But they couldn't stop me, so there I was. Anyway, I've been in a bunch of bands. I've played a bunch of places, and I love the guitar, like I said, and I feel like I have something to offer. And if you feel that way too, stick around, and I'm going to continue to post things that I think are interesting and relevant. I'm going to try not to cover territory that everyone else has covered. If you want to learn rudimentary ideas in the standard classical way or in the traditional way, then you can find that lots of places. I'm going to do things a little differently. So anyway, thanks, and I will see you again next time. So I'm kind of feeling my way around this YouTube thing, and lots of jump cuts. I did study film when I was an art student, so this is also partly a fulfillment of my aspiration as a cinematographer, although I never really got too far into that. But I love film also, and I'm not camera shy. And by the way, so this is low-res guitar tutorials because, I don't have a lot of fancy stuff going on. I've got a laptop and I've got Adobe Premiere, and I kind of use some of it for, a few fancy things, but not too much. So don't expect a lot of, that other stuff. But, this is low res. Some other people in my musical life who've been very important to me. Well, when I started playing in the Village, I ran into a fellow named Elliot Schneider, who was at the time playing acoustic music, and we briefly were in a group in New York. We didn't do really too many gigs. I think we mostly just rehearsed. And then we reconnected again in LA, and Elliot and I were in a couple of bands together after that, primarily doing Elliot's music, which I love. And he taught me how to play rock and roll. if Jim Eaves taught me how to play blues and rhythm and blues and how to sing, because that guy could really sing. I mean, I just soaked it up, you know. And Elliot taught me how to play rock and roll. I was kind of a folky. I was kind of laid back. I didn't really know how to just hit the guitar. And Elliot taught me how to do that. And we did a bunch of gigs and recorded a bunch. And there's too many people to name here in this brief moment. But I will, well, I'm thinking of all of them, and they know that. So anyway,